Today, we are taking you on a deep dive into, well, the absolute pinnacle of hypercar engineering. Because breaking the 300-mile-per-hour barrier isn't just driving, it is like a literal war against physics.
Oh, absolutely. At those speeds, the air in front of you basically thickens into a solid wall. You're fighting fluid dynamics just to keep the car from, taking off like an airplane.
Right, and our mission today is to compare the core engineering specs of two modern marvels that tackle this exact wall, but in totally different ways. We're looking at the Bugatti Chiron Super Sport and the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut. It's essentially a heavyweight title fight.
Yeah, a fight between overwhelming brute force on the Bugatti side and then hyper-optimized featherweight agility with the Koenigsegg. It's genuinely fascinating.
So to really see that contrast, let's look at what's sitting behind the driver's seat. Bugatti brings an absolute mammoth to the starting line. I mean, an 8.0-liter W16 engine with 4 turbochargers.
4 turbos, it's insane. And it generates a mind-bending 1,600 horsepower and 1,600 newton meters of torque.
Which is just sheer brute force through massive displacement. But then you look at the Jesko Absolut. It hits that exact same 1,600 horsepower mark, but with a much smaller 5.0-liter twin-turbo V8.
Exactly.
And that is where the math kind of breaks my brain a little bit. I mean, that is nearly half the displacement of the Bugatti. How do they extract the exact same horsepower from an engine that small without, just blowing it to pieces?
Well, it comes down to pushing the absolute limits of combustion efficiency and, frankly, relying on chemistry. To hit that 1,600 horsepower, the Jesko runs on E85 fuel.
Oh, because of the ethanol content.
Right. The high ethanol provides this massive cooling effect and its super high octane rating. So that prevents the engine from knocking or destroying itself under those insane turbo boost pressures. Plus, they pair that with sequential multi-point fuel injection.
Wow.
Yeah, they literally use individual pressure sensors in every single cylinder to perfectly optimize the combustion in real time. And then you have to factor in the crankshaft. They use the world's lightest flat plane V8 crankshaft, weighing just 12.5 kilograms.
That is incredibly light. I mean, my dog weighs more than that.
I bet. And since power is basically torque multiplied by RPM, if you don't have Bugatti's massive torque from a huge engine, you compensate, right? You make those lighter internals spin incredibly fast. That light crank lets the Jesko rev to a screaming 8,500 RPM.
But hitting 8,500 RPM creates a completely new problem. Once you actually generate that 1,600 horsepower, how do you transfer that energy without the car acting like a wing and lifting off the track at 300 miles per hour?
Yeah, because at that velocity, aerodynamic drag is your absolute worst enemy. So Koenigsegg achieved a staggering 0.278 drag coefficient on the Jesko Absolut.
Which is crazy low. How did they even get it that low?
By stripping away anything that causes drag. The biggest change was removing that massive rear wing they use on their track version. That alone dropped the total downforce from 1,400 kilos down to just 150.
Wow. And the Chiron sits, I think, slightly higher at a 0.33 drag coefficient in its top speed mode, but both of them use that long tail design, right?
They do. Bugatti actually extended their rear by 25 centimeters just for this.
Which feels like a lot for a hypercar. Why make it that much longer?
It's all about keeping the laminar airflow. That's the smooth boundary layer of air traveling over the car attached to the body for a longer period. If you extend the tail, it reduces the turbulent wake behind the vehicle.
Because otherwise, that wake just acts like a giant vacuum.
Right.
Just sucking the car backwards.
Exactly. And speaking of vacuums, Bugatti also did something really clever with their exhausts. They vertically stacked their 3D printed titanium exhausts to increase the rear diffuser size by 32%.
Oh, that's huge. And a larger diffuser gives the air rushing under the car more room to rapidly expand, right?
Right, and that rapid expansion creates a massive low-pressure zone underneath. So it physically sucks the car down onto the pavement without needing a drag-heavy wing up on top.
That is brilliant. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, really. Getting all that power to the wheels without losing your momentum.
Yeah, the transmission. Bugatti uses a highly refined 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. But Koenigsegg, well, they completely reinvented the gearbox with their 9-speed light-speed transmission.
The LST, with that UPOD technology, right? Ultimate power on demand.
Yes. It uses multiple internal clutch packs instead of a traditional sequential setup. So rather than walking through the gears in order, those multiple clutches let it prepare and engage any gear instantly, regardless of where it currently is.
So, like, if a traditional gearbox is an elevator that forces you to stop at every single floor, the Jesko's UPOD is basically an elevator that teleports you straight to the penthouse.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It senses your speed and can just jump straight from 7th gear down to 4th. instantly.
And that instantaneous jump means zero loss in acceleration. It is just amazing. Two utterly spectacular solutions to the exact same physics problem.
It really is. It shows you the difference between refined magnitude and unrelenting innovation. Bugatti just overwhelms the air with scale, while Koenigsegg tries to outsmart it with extreme efficiency.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself lucky enough to get behind the wheel of one of these, that is exactly what you are feeling. But it really leaves you wondering where the ceiling actually is for all of this.
Oh, for sure. We're getting to the point where the cars are almost too capable.
Right. I mean, with engines perfectly tuned to 1600 horsepower and aero optimized to slip right through the air, it raises a really provocative question for you all listening. Will the next top speed barrier even be limited by the engineering of the cars?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah, or are we going to be limited by the physical grip of the actual pavement? Or, honestly, the absolute physical limits of the human driver? Think about that next time you get behind the wheel.